I want to thank you all for joining today's session. I am Lisa Ranglin, and I am the founder and president for the Rhode Island Black Business Association, currently serving as the executive director for the organization. And I've been on this journey with so many incredible people over the last 10 years. So really great and happy to be here as we talk about the Emerging Leaders Development Program. And this program, just a little bit of background about me. I've been in corporate, well, I used to be in corporate for the last 20-ish years, and I just left the corporate banking world in February of this year. So I know it well in terms of women mobility, in terms of thriving, advancing in the corporate space, but just advancing in general. So I'm super excited to talk about what I've seen over the last 20 plus years and hear from you guys. What's your expectation, what you would like to see? And we'll share just what the overview of the program. So, we've been developing this program over the last maybe 3-4 years, talking to people like yourself on the call, right? Specifically to understand what are the barriers that are out there, what are the challenges, how do people in general thrive, what does that look like? So we'll spend some time and go through that. The Emerging Leaders Development Program it's a 6 months leadership development program that prepares high performing individuals, right? So we're talking about Black, Indigenous professionals, people of color, and it's really to advance. And when I think of advancing, I really think of a couple of things. When I think of advancing, think about advancement, right? If you can advance something to the next level, it's actual measurable, right? So what we're doing, we want to ensure that the training, the workshop, the seminar, all of the things that we're doing, we want to be able to measure where you've been. So when you come into the program, you'll get a 360 assessment. And that's really to do a baseline, right? To understand where you are from a current state perspective. What are the skills and capabilities that you bring to the table right now in your current space? And then as you go through the program, we should be able to say incremental growth, right? But the goal is really to prepare you to be able to take on high visible projects, right? Impactful projects within your company, within your organization. And the goal really is for you to be able to impact the work that you're doing, the bottom line from a revenue perspective, and then also to drive changes throughout our community, right? So it's really around impact on self, right? As well as the community at large. All of us kind of understand some of the barriers, right? We talk about, what are some of those issues or barriers that are impacting people of color, right? We have lots of data point, right? So we know for a fact, and I think ladies, you can share stories of your own, right? Specifically around the lack of support that you may have received on your career journey, right? You may know a lot of people that you see them right around you where they don't have your skills, capabilities, or credentials, but they go past you because they don't look like you, right? I'm sure you all can relate to that because I certainly can. And then we talk about some of the things around where do we see people of color always, right? It's usually in those entry-level positions, right? Because people will say, he or she, they don't really fit in, right? They may not sound well, they don't present well, all of these negative stuff that you may hear. So I think, this program is going to really help you as you think about how do you touch on that, create environment where we know that we're in this together. All of us are in this together, and we're working towards those key objectives, the key goals. So when I think about how have I navigated the last 20 years in corporate, I always come back to thinking about the big picture. How is it that the work that I do as a professional fits in the organization's strategic priorities, right? And how do I ensure that every person that I'm interacting with, they understand how my work interacts, how theirs connect, and how it flows and impact the overall strategic priorities of the organization, right? That's how we ensure that we are not just thriving, but we're growing together. So on this slide here, you'll see the overview of the actual program curriculum, right? And this program is going to be administered in partnership with the University of Rhode Island. We look at authentic leadership. We'll discover values, core values. We'll also be looking at personal and professional leadership trajectory. Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself now? Where do you want to go in terms of building that plan or that blueprint for growth? What does that look like? The other amazing things that you'll get with this program, you'll be assigned with an executive coach that will work with you for 6 months. So you're not only going through the program, but you will be assigned an executive coach that will actually work with you as well. You'll also be matched with a mentor. So again, we know mentorship and mentor relationships are key to career trajectory, career advancement. You're also hoping that you'll be assigned a sponsor within your organization. And here's where this come in. The commitment from your company is very important, or the commitment from your boss or your leader or whomever in your organization, because they are best able to identify a sponsor within your organization. That person will be able to know everything about you. They'll be able to speak on your behalf when you're not in those rooms where decisions are being made. We know those rooms, right? When they're talking about talent planning, talent development, bonuses, promotional, all of those things. Many cases we're not in those rooms, and we want to make sure that we identify sponsors within our organization that will be able to speak on our behalf when we can't, right? And that's where the sponsorship come in. We're also going to look at, how do you become a champion or an advocate, right? We'll also touch on agility and mobility, career mobility. What does that look like? Am I stuck in my organization, or can I move around? Can I work remotely? Am I free to go about? What does that look like? And we talked about, emotional intelligence already. And then self-assessment, right? The self-assessment portion of it will come in at the beginning of the program, really around understanding where you are from a current state and then where we go forward. So who are the ideal candidates for this position, right? Or for this program, sorry. It's anyone that are in their career that are deemed high or top performing, or someone that may have been at least 5 years. There are some people that are coming in less because they're in their 3 years, but they're seeing their leaders are seeing them really performing at a high level. And from a leadership perspective, leadership growth, they see them as somebody that they want to invest in. And then we're talking about a 6-month program, and it requires commitment from your leaders, supervisor, or folks within your organization. I will encourage you, think about leveraging your training dollars. There are dollars in companies always that are organization or city or state that are allocated for professional development. You can ask for that and think about, how do you justify? When you go through the 6-month program, you want to make sure that you're justifying the value, and we'll see the outcomes on the right? See program outcomes. You want to be able to justify, when I go through this program, here is what I believe will happen. Tangible things, right? Leadership present is very important. How do you show up? How do you present? How do you connect your scope of work, what somebody else is doing, to the organization's, strategic priorities, or the city or the state? What are the priorities that they're working on for any given time? How do you really set yourself apart from somebody else? What differentiates you from another person, right? What's your why? What's your value? Why should they invest in you? And what is that going to do for the company, for you as a professional, but also for the community at large, right? So it's that growth that you'll be able to see and you'll be able to measure. You'll go through, out of that, you should have your personal brand, right? You should have all of your social media present, right? Whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, professionally done. You should also, and you will be walking away from this program with what I consider a blueprint for where you may go from the next 6 months and next year, and also a solid resume and cover letter, right? That you'll be able to feel comfy about. How do I position? How do I sell myself? How do I make sure that I'm not settling or I'm not stuck? And how do I ensure that I'm empowered So I'm not waiting for somebody to tap me on the shoulder to say it's my turn for that next opportunity, but really you go out there and seek it and sell yourself, right? Okay. All right, Amanda, you want to cover the next slide, which is around the timeline?
Absolutely.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So here I have the cohort dates. So as Lisa mentioned, it's a 6-month program. It'll be starting on September 14th and lasting for 6 months. So it will be taking place at URI's Providence campus. Right now, we are looking at an leaning in-person hybrid model. They have a huge room that will accommodate social distancing, which we really do want to follow, even as the state opens up. So right now we're looking at more in person. How to register, right? So what now? You can actually sign up for the program at reba.org/emerging leaders. So really easy website to remember. There is a program cost. It is $5,500. And once you register, it asks you to basically put in your information, your organization information, your title, some information about yourself. I will follow up with you just to confirm and have a conversation based on who you are and to learn a little bit more about you. So once you are fully accepted at that point, you will get a confirmation email, and then 2 weeks prior to the program, you'll receive all of the surveys and program documents and things that you'll need to really get started. Location information, maps, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, and we should also note they will, each person before they actually start into the program, they will be getting as part of that info that will be sent out. A part of that will be the information for them to complete their their assessment as well.
Thank you. That was the word. I said survey.
Yeah, their assessment, right? Because the expectation is that when you come into the program, we'll be able to review the output of your assessment as well to understand where you are from a current state, from a baseline perspective.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Any questions about the, registration intake process? It is pretty straightforward. Any questions or any issues with the website, feel free to give me a call. I definitely want to make the process simple. And then I'm just gonna switch to the next slide, which is, thinking about professional development investment. Most organizations do have funding budgeted for each of your professional development. And so I just provided some tips as to how to navigate this. So, from schedule, I've actually, been able to do professional development, whether I'm at a nonprofit, for profit. So it is pretty customary. So, schedule a meeting with your manager to discuss, share the opportunity with your DEI and ERGs, especially if there are, a couple of you who are interested. I think leveraging that is important. We can host an emerging leaders info session at your organization. So we'd be happy to come to you virtually or in person. And then we do have limited scholarships available, though we won't have the final numbers of those until the end of August. So if we can help you navigate these conversations, please let me know. This is a new program in the state. This was filling a gap that did not exist. So it may take a conversation, right? And this program does align though with the, with companies' DEI strategies, right? It is a really intentional way for them to actually put action forward and invest in their employees. Lisa, did I miss anything?
No, you nailed it. Thanks, Amanda. It's not a check the box, right? It's really around leaning in and making an investment in your colleagues, right? We saw what happened with the racial tension last year after the death of George Floyd. And then we saw many companies issued commitment around DE&I, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what we are saying, it can't be a check the box, and right. And we know it's not it's a journey, right? So we want companies to know that we have options out there, and we have, really spend the time to talk to professionals out in different companies and build a program that we know is designed by people of color for people of color. And that's the unique differences, right? We understand the challenges that a person of color goes through when he or she are in the workplace, right? It is not easy. But we know that this program will be able to provide you with the tips, techniques, and business acumen for you to be able to thrive within the workplace, not just survive, but we want to talk about thriving. And when we talk about thriving, we're talking about owning your own success, building a blueprint that design your career trajectory, not somebody design it for you. The other thing, it's really around empowerment. So this program will really give you the tools and techniques for you to feel very empowered to be able to own your destiny, right? Own your career path, and then have those conversation with your leaders, right? To say, here's where I sit in the organization today. Here's where I want to go. And here I need your help in order to get there. And here are the things that we need. I would love to attend this program. All the things that is shared to date looks fascinating. I would love your commitment, right? And if you want to go talk to the leaders, they're willing to come talk to us as well. I mean, I see it as a win-win across the board, and I hope you guys feel the same way as well.